So this has been a very interesting week, and I wanted to finish sharing with you all some of the things I talked about in the last video. There were some things I wanted to share in that video that I needed to wait to occur this week before I could share. And it's funny because, you know, as I thought that I'm So Fly movement and this channel was going to go in one direction, I can see where the Lord is changing some of that and doing some things that I didn't realize He wanted to do. And part of that, I feel like, is me sharing more of like just my walk and what I'm going through, and even this process that God is even taking me through right now. I had no idea that I would be broadcasting it to the world, but I do understand why, and maybe it's just to encourage some of you, because lots of you will also be going through transition the way that I am. So I mentioned to you all that the Lord had been telling me trades, what to trade, and Amazon, and again Amazon this week, and I made a lot of money on Amazon this week. But you know, I've realized that the Lord had been telling me that He was moving me out of what I did day to day and restructuring the way I do business. And I mentioned this in the last episode. And so I didn't realize that God was going to move and change things as fast as He has been. But this week, the Lord had me tell my clients that I was no longer going to be doing their books. And that was an exciting and very interesting process. So I wanted to mention this in the last video, but I thought I probably shouldn't broadcast this yet when I haven't even told them. And if one were to see it, they'd be like, wait, Angel is leaving us and didn't even tell us. So yeah, so that's what happened this week. I actually went and told my clients that I was no longer going to be working for them. And you will say, okay, then Angel, what are you planning to do? And yes, I am planning to trade full-time, because God told me that He was going to tell me the trades, and because I know this is what He wants for me. And I can't tell you how bizarre and far-fetched doing something like that is, but it's different when you know that God told you to. So I do not encourage anyone to go and quit your job, but I do encourage you to have the relationship with the Lord that you need to have, so that if He does tell you something crazy like that, it won't seem so far-fetched and you can do it. Me being the controlling person that I am, and someone that loves security, I think sometimes in my natural mind and I say, I cannot believe you did that. And I can't stay in that natural mind very long, because it is a very crazy thing. I told one of my friends what I did this week, and he was like, Angel, are you serious? Are you crazy? You told your good clients that you have like no issues with, you're getting paid from them, you're just going to quit because you felt like the Lord said He's going to tell you the trades? And I do understand what He means, and I say yes, and don't worry about it, the Lord is going to provide. And I meant that. I do understand how crazy it seems, and I think that if someone were to tell me the same thing that I did, I would believe that God would do that, but I'd also be like, okay friend, are you sure that God told you to do that? And the funny thing is, guys, is like it was not even a second thought. And I really can't tell you and pinpoint a day specifically that I just knew that God wanted me to do this, but I've been feeling it coming down the pipeline. So as I mentioned to you all, in January, the Lord told me that anything that you lose this year, I will replace with something better. And I knew that God was referring to my clients. So I began to anticipate and wait for that kind of to happen. And it slowly began to happen. I ended up having one that didn't sign the contract. The next one came to me and said, hey, we're going to change the way we do business. We're going to bring a full-time person in. We want to hire an employee. And so during this process, I still had such a peace. I just knew that God had something up His sleeve, and I didn't know what. And I can say that once upon a time in my life, I would have panicked, or I would have just began immediately to search out more clients to fill in that gap and that space of those that I was losing. But I had no desire to do that this time, because I knew that even at the beginning of the year, the Lord told me that things are going to change, but I have something better for you. And it takes a lot of faith and time with the Lord to get to that place where you can believe God for it. And I don't say this to you all because I've always been one that was just so ready to be on board with the things that God has said to me. That certainly hasn't been the case. But I can tell you that because I spent so much time with God, I felt so much more comfortable and at ease to let God do whatever He was planning to do. So like I mentioned in August, a prophet gave me a word that said that the Lord said by the end of this year, I am going to change your day-to-day activity and business will be different. So of course I was looking for it and waiting for that thing to happen. And it wasn't until this month that I began, or yeah, probably the end of this month, that I began to feel, at the end of November, that I felt like the Lord was saying to me that it was time for the transition. So maybe last week I really felt strongly, Angel, it's time to tell your clients that you're walking away. And I felt such a joy about that because I have been so busy with work and a lot of stress dealing with all of the things that I had on my plate. So for God to say that, I didn't even stop to think about, okay, how are you going to make money? I just thought, okay, well God, if that's what you want me to do. And then of course God told me He was going to start telling me what trades to make, and that was how I was going to pay my bills right now. The other thing is, when you know that you have told God there is something that you want for your life, and then that thing starts to transpire and you see all of the pieces starting to come together, because that dream and that thing that you want is so large, you can't all of a sudden find yourself in fear and say, well, God can't be doing that for me. So I mentioned to you all, a hedge fund is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always felt like Financially Sane ultimately should be in capital management. And so I've always told God that's where I want to be. I want Financially Sane to be a hedge fund. And basically that is someone that manages other people's capital and helps you build your wealth. And so the Lord began to tell me that that's what was going to happen. So He told me to go get my license, which I'm studying for right now. And I just saw how God was putting all these things in place. So it wasn't a matter of what is it that God has for me. Now I'm starting to see, okay, you're actually going to answer my prayers and make my dreams come true and fulfill exactly what I want you to fulfill. So yes, it can make you stop and be like, oh my God. I have to say that over these last couple of weeks, I've been like, I just can't believe this. And then I'd catch myself and I'd say, stop saying you can't believe it. You should be able to believe it. It's God. And then I'd say, oh my God, Lord, I can believe this, but it's just so incredibly amazing to me. Just like that, you're moving me all the way over from this place to this place. And so many times over the years, I've tried to figure out, how is God going to transition me from what I do right now into what I'm asking Him for? And I could not figure it out. And there was nothing to figure out, because just like that, He's just turned the tables completely. So in this past week, I actually told my clients that I am going to resign as of January 1st. And you know, I had a serious peace about it after I told them that. And I find that a lot of times when you are trying to figure out, God, is this from you? Is this something that you want me to do? You always follow the peace. If I had told them that, or even before telling them that, if it was not what God wanted for me, there would not be a peace there. There would be a bit of a struggle on the inside of me trying to decide, is this right? Is this not right? Well, I didn't have that struggle. I knew that this was right. I knew that God told me to do this. And I knew from the peace that I felt on that day, God wanted me to do this. So that's what I did this week. I told my clients that, and you know, immediately I began to say, Lord, okay, I've always known that I needed to bring more accountants in. Do you want me to keep these clients on so that I can, you know, fulfill them with an accountant? And I actually offered that to one of my clients, and they really wanted that because I would be overseeing the entire process. It would be more seamless for them than to bring someone on and try to train them. So I began to ask God about that. I was like, God, is that what you want me to do? And so I tried to start putting those pieces together, and all of the pieces that I thought and was trying to bring together, I asked one accountant, they couldn't take it. I asked another person that I knew had said that she needed more hours and more work. I said, hey, do you want to fulfill this position? And she was like, no, I don't have time to do that. So I began to say, okay, then Lord, maybe that's not what you want. Maybe it's not for me to hang on to that. And it wasn't like I was trying to maintain these clients for the security, because certainly the cut that I would make in that position would not pay anything that I need paid. But I felt like, well, Financially Sane is supposed to be growing also in this capacity. Maybe it's time for that to happen. So I began to ask God about that, and the Lord said to me, Angel, when I'm ready for that part of Financially Sane to come together, you will have enough money that you can buy out an entire accounting firm. And it'll come with accountants, and they'll already come with clients. So I said, okay, Lord, you're right. You know, you can do anything. You're clearly showing me that right now. So I said, okay, I lay that down too. And then what's funny is whenever you try to go and do something as wild as what I'm doing right now and completely change the type of job that you have while maintaining salary enough to keep you afloat and to do everything that you need to do, there will always be those tests where the enemy will see, are you really going to believe God for it? So even with one of the other clients, they came to me the next day after I had told my clients that I was going to walk away and offered me a contract with another client. And again, I was like, Angel, is this for you to do? You know, stuff like that will make you question because you're like, God, is this from you? Is it not from you? And I turned it down. And I knew that through all of this, the Lord is still saying, Angel, are you going to trust me for this? Will you believe that overnight I will turn your business from this into this? And I trust God so much that I'm like, yes, Lord, I do trust you. I can feel the peace on the inside that only you can bring, you know. And what happened in the market? So Tuesday in the market, my account was up. I was doing great. I was definitely in the black. This was the day that I told my clients that I was going to resign as of January 1st. The very next day, I'm in prayer. I say, God, you know, what are we trading today? What do? I don't hear God say anything. I don't hear a trade. I don't hear God speaking to me like he normally does in prayer time. Nothing. And then also on that day, my account goes down and I'm like down negative, maybe like $2,500. And mind you guys, that is a very hard thing to watch. If you trade stock options, you know what I mean. To see your account go up and down so quickly, you're like, oh my God, do I pull the contracts out? So I felt like the Lord said to me, Angel, if I do not say anything to you for the next day or the day after, does that mean that the things that I've told you has changed? Does that mean that you're going to stop believing me for what I've already told you that I was going to do for your life? Does that mean that the things that you asked me to do for you will not happen now? And he really had me pondering over that and thinking about it. And I really began to feel so badly for the thoughts that had even crossed my mind. Because when you see your account go down $2,500, you do start to wonder and say, oh my God, Lord, what is going on? Never do I feel like God is turning his back on me. I've never felt like that. But it does make you immediately question, did I make the wrong decision? Did I do something wrong? And of course, the friend's voice that said, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, that comes to mind. I need to say though, by the end of our conversation, he was like, I'm so proud of you. And, you know, I wish I had faith to believe the way that you do. But of course, you know, the devil is going to bring back that person saying, oh my God, what did you do? So all that morning, on Thursday morning, I believe it was, the Lord kept dealing with me and saying, are you going to believe me? Do you have the courage and the faith to say, even if I don't hear your voice again today, Lord, even if my account doesn't bounce back today, Lord, that I still believe you? And so Thursday morning was before the market opened up and God was having these conversations with me. And then I was out running errands and I don't think I traded much Thursday morning, but I was still in my contracts. This is the day after my account was down $2,500. And all through the time that I was running the errands, the Lord was just speaking to my heart and saying, you know, this is the type of thing that I'm trying to build in you, that you begin to trust me for more. And even when you don't feel like I'm standing there holding your hand and speaking loudly in your ear, can you still trust me? And I just really said, Lord, you know what? I'm so sorry because you're God. Even if you do not tell me the trades, even if I lose all of my money in this account, God, you could make money fall from the sky and replace it. You could send someone to me with $100,000 check and replace it. You could do anything you wanted to do to replace that. How can I not believe you? And I really just began to repent for that. And so by the end of that day, which was Thursday, of course my account came back and I was back in the black. All of that I thought I had lost all came back. And Friday, again, you know, killed the market. The Lord told me a couple of the trades to make for the week. And I ended up netting for this past week 142% of my monthly salary. That is almost a month and a half salary that I earned in 1 week of trading. And guys, I can't take any credit for that. It is all God telling me what to trade. The only thing that I can take credit in is being obedient and doing what God is asking me to do and taking the time to spend with Him. As I mentioned in the last video, there is nothing more critical than spending time with the Lord. So I share all of these stories with you all because I want you to understand that you're not by yourself, one. And this is the type of process that the Lord takes you through when He's testing your faith. He wants to see if you're going to be strong enough. Will you stand? And one of the things that I've always told the Lord is, God, I want the faith of Abraham and Noah. And many people know the story of Noah. You know that Noah, God told Noah that you need to build an ark so I can save your family. I'm sending a flood to the land. And Noah was the only one that pleased God at that time. And so God tells him to build the ark. Many people don't know that it took Noah more than 50 years to build that ark. And what other people don't know is that it never rained on the earth before. So God tells Noah, build this boat that you don't even know how to build, but I'll tell you how to build it. He tells him, I'm going to send some sort of precipitation to the land that you've never seen before. And you are not going to be able to build this boat overnight. It takes you 50 years. Can you imagine how many people laughed at Noah when he said, oh, God told me to do this. And God said that He was going to send something called rain and it was going to wipe out everyone except those that are on my boat. Can you imagine how many people laughed at him and made fun and thought, this man is actually crazy? I think about that story when I think about jumping out there for the Lord because it requires that kind of faith. And so when I say to God, I want the kind of faith that Noah had. Noah stayed steady building this boat for more than 50 years, probably closer to 100, and believed what God told him. And God saved his whole family. So sometimes I tell you that because sometimes that's what it requires. It requires people to say, are you crazy? But you to still stand and know and be sure of what God told you. And how do you be sure of that? You're sure of it because you spend time with God. You have a relationship. You know what it sounds like when He speaks to you, and you know what it feels like when you have that peace of God on the inside.